2022 iPad Air M2 in Starlight. Thanks, Apple. This one is actually my dad's. If you've watched my other unboxing videos, you'll know that I have a MacBook Pro 2021. Very conveniently for me being able to make this video, Dad has been wanting to update his 2015 11-inch iPad Air for a very long time. So Dad chose the new Starlight color. We've seen Starlight previously in the iPhone 13 and the iPad mini, which is the color of iPad mini that I unboxed on this channel last year. But it's the first time that this color has come to the MacBook Air. But if Starlight isn't your thing, there are 3 other colors to choose from this year. Not surprisingly, we've got silver and space gray again, which are available in essentially every single MacBook that there is. And the other new color this year is midnight, which is somewhat controversial. We'll talk about that in a second. All right, enough chit chat. Let's do this. Still has the plastic wrap, which is interesting because some of the iPhones have started doing away with that. Why is this so appealing? Why is this so satisfying? Ooh, nice. So on the box, we've got, they're showing off just how thin this one is, which makes sense. Then the back is all the information. MacBook Air, 13.6 inch, 8-core CPU, 8-core GPU, 8 gigabytes of RAM, 256 gigabytes hard drive. All right. I feel like I should do this way. Okay. Yeah, this is immediately I'm like, fuck, this is such a different experience to holding my 16-inch MacBook Pro. They got the paper sort of wrapping again because it's, you know, environmentally friendly, or at least more environmentally friendly than the old plastic wrap we would get on things, so that's good. There's an extra bit of protection over the Apple logo because it's quite shiny, and I think that it would scratch quite easily. So yeah, there's that there. And then, okay, let's flip it over. All right. Ooh, yeah. Slide it out. Slide it out. I will keep this. Oh. Okay, yeah. Starlight looks a lot better in real life than I thought it would in my head. Like, it is really nice. It's a pale gold, but it's still gold. Great commentary, Alex. In certain lights, it just looks silver. And then in other lights, like in darker lights, to me, it looks like a more gold color. But yeah, I like this. I wasn't a huge fan of last generation's gold color. To me, it was very like, I'm not sure how you describe it. Sort of a rose gold, but also kind of like an orangish sort of hue to it. This is a lot more subtle and I much prefer it. Yeah, and it's got quite a gold, very reflective Apple logo, so that's nice. It's thin. We know it's thin, Alex. That's kind of the point of an Air. All right, let's open it up. I should have really done that for you guys, but I didn't. Anyway, yeah, there it is. So, again, I'll remove this part for you guys. Bonjour, MacBook Air. Yeah, my first thought is like, this is a very nifty little device. Something so nice about opening a new MacBook Air. Yeah. Okay, before we dive a bit more into this, let's just have a look at what else you get in the box. I hope that's a good.
Use English as the main language. Press the return key.
Yeah, dankeschön. Okay, so what else we get in the box? A braided USB-C to MagSafe cable, and this is color matched to the color of your MacBook Air. So this one is actually a Starlight color, which may be a little bit difficult to notice in the video. But there's also a silver one for the silver, a space gray for the space gray, and a midnight for the midnight, funnily enough. So both the braided part and the MagSafe part Such technical terms. So this one is from my silver 2021 MacBook Pro, and this one of course is from the Starlight MacBook Air 2022. And you can tell there's a pretty obvious difference when you put them next to each other. The only part they didn't color match is the USB-C plug half. And it's sort of like, I don't get why you didn't just do the whole thing. So, braided cable. We've got the Apple instructions and stickers, no doubt. MacBook Air, blah, blah, blah. The different things in the MacBook Air. No one really cares about this stuff, do they? And for a second I thought they jibbed on the stickers. And of course, these stickers, 2 of them which are color matched. So of course I got Starlight stickers, all right? Great. Okay, tuck that away back in there, no one really cares. Now this part, the power adapter, is actually surprisingly exciting. So Apple's gone and done something that other companies have been doing since the dawn of time. But they now have a dual USB-C power brick, power adapter, whatever you want to call it. So there are 2 USB-C ports on this thing, and you can use it to charge 2 devices at once, crazily enough. So Apple actually gives you the option of which power brick you want to get with your new MacBook Pro. This is what it looks like in Australia, by the way. It's a little bit different. Some of the other countries have more sort of slim designs. The UK has a design where the prongs fold in, which I think is really cool, but the way that our PowerPoints work, it's not really feasible, which is kind of annoying. So it's quite a small power brick, particularly when you compare it to the 16-inch MacBook Pro's power brick, which is a monster, but it's needed because it's bigger. Yeah, good. So Apple actually gives you an option as to which power brick you want with your new MacBook Air. So if you're ordering a baseline MacBook Air online, there are 3 different power adapter options that Apple gives you. There is the basic 30-watt adapter, which looks something like this, except with only 1 USB-C port in it. And then the $30 Australian, or $20 American, or £30. For some reason, I feel like the UK is getting jibbed there. You can go up to the dual 35-watt power adapter, and that lets you charge 2 things at once. So for my dad, who travels quite a lot, it's really useful for him because he can just bring this one fairly small power adapter, and he can use that to charge both his computer and his phone. The third option also costs $30, and that is a 67-watt power adapter, and you'll need that to do fast charging. So the MacBook Air is capable of fast charging. However, it is not capable of doing it with the 30 or 35-watt power adapter, so you'll need to get the 67-watt power adapter, which is a bit bigger, in order to do fast charging. And fast charging will get you 50% battery in 30 minutes. So it is quite useful, but is it as useful as having 2 USB-C ports? Alright, so that's what you get in the box. So, looking at this new MacBook Air, what are we noticing? Well, you've probably realized that the old wedge shape is gone, and instead we have this more squared off look, which is more in line with pretty much every Apple product at the moment. This seems to be their new design language, and I, for one, really love it. They're essentially a squished down version of the MacBook Pro. So if I get my MacBook Pro out here, the MacBook Air is significantly thinner than the MacBook Pro, which is not surprising. The MacBook Pro still has fans, the MacBook Air doesn't, so there's a lot more room for the more powerful, more graphically intensive MacBook Pro to cool down than what there is for the MacBook Air, because it doesn't need that so much. That's explaining it fairly basically and hopefully correctly. If you look at these 2 side by side, the MacBook Air, it closed, the bottom and the top, is shorter than just the bottom of the MacBook Pro. And when you put the silver and the Starlight next to each other, there is a quite obvious difference, but it's not super distinct, really. Again, depending on the light, it makes a huge difference. The other thing too is the MacBook Pros have a black Apple logo on the back, and the MacBook Airs have a reflective metallic logo on the back. So stylistically, the MacBook Air looks like a much flatter version of last year's MacBook Pros, just with less ports. So that's all I need my Pro for. Weight-wise, but no, I love my Pro. I really love it. So it's now got a 13.6-inch display, up from 13.3 inches in last year's M1 model, and pretty much every model before that. And that's because they've significantly reduced the size of the bezels, really pushing out that screen almost as far as they can. I'm sure they could go farther if they really wanted to, but they've got to save something for the future. And yes, the notch is still there, just as we've seen in last year's MacBook Pros. I honestly don't mind the notch. I don't notice it at all. And if that's the price you have to pay in order to reclaim this space at the top around it, I don't think it's an issue. The camera notch also houses the new improved webcam, which I believe is the same one that's on the MacBook Pros from last year. It is 180p, up from the old 720p that seemed to hang around for about 5 generations too long. Is it an incredible camera? No. But is it good enough? Does it make a huge difference when you actually look at them side by side? Yeah, it really does. It's funny how quickly you adapt to the new thing, because I already look at last generation MacBooks and I'm like, wow, that is a thick bezel. Like, it already looks so thick in comparison. And I'm sure that in the future we will look at this and be like, whoa, so much bezel. Bezel even existed? Like, in the future they'll just take it all the way out to the edges like they do on a lot of TVs these days. But at the moment, this is what we've got, and I think it looks pretty cool. And Dad coming from his 2015 11-inch MacBook Air, like, those bezels were thick. As well as being larger, the screen is also brighter and can now reach 500 nits of brightness, up from last generation's 400 nits. You'll also notice that the speakers aren't on the side of the keyboards anymore like they were in the last generation. They're actually housed at the back here between the keyboard and the screen, and it's now a 4-speaker system which supports spatial audio. We do have the black keys like last year's MacBook Pros, however we do not have the black keywell behind it. Instead, that's just the same color as the rest of the unit. I like it. I think it makes them a bit more distinct from the MacBook Pros, and not everyone liked the black keywell, so it's a win-win. Also similar to last year's MacBook Pros is that there is a full-size row of function keys. Let's talk about the ports. So for the first time in many, many years, we are seeing the return of the MagSafe port on MacBook Airs. I always thought, like, it's not a huge deal. You can just plug in and out, like, who really cares? But it actually is a lot easier just being able to snap a magnet in, and I do really appreciate having it. Next in the MagSafe, it's got 2 Thunderbolt/USB-C ports. I believe it's Thunderbolt 3 though, and not Thunderbolt 4. The thing that really annoys me, and has annoyed me for a long time with Apple, is not that they keep only putting 2 USB-C ports on their Macs, is that they keep putting them on the same side. And in this particular case, the fact that they put both of them on the same side as the MagSafe charger. Sometimes you plug something in and it doesn't leave enough space for you to plug something in next to it. To me, it makes a lot more sense just to have one on one side and one on the other. The other thing too is that it makes it more versatile. Let's say you have your MacBook Air here and you have an external monitor to your right-hand side, and that's your setup. You have to run the cord from the USB port on the left around the back of the Mac and into the monitor, whereas you could, if there was one on the right-hand side, just plug it straight in on that side. Okay, that's my rant about USB-C ports. Now, if we flip over to the other side of the MacBook Air, you'll see that there's just one single headphone jack. I really think that they should have included an SD card slot on the MacBook Air. It's just going to make things a lot easier for a lot of people. However, I think what Apple's doing by not including an SD card slot in the MacBook Air is that they're trying to have more of a distinct difference between the MacBook Pros and the MacBook Airs, which after the last generation, which essentially ended up being pretty much the same thing. There was hardly any difference between the MacBook Air and the MacBook Pro 13-inch models. I can understand why, and it is nice to have more of a distinct difference between them. So as I mentioned earlier, there are 4 different colors available in this year's MacBook Air lineup. There are the Apple staples, silver and space gray. And for the first time, we're getting a Starlight and a Midnight option. I had a chance to look at all of these when I picked up this guy from the Apple store yesterday. The rumors about these new Airs going around the internet before they were officially announced were that they were gonna somewhat match the 24-inch M1 iMacs. So although they didn't come out with a bunch of really colorful options for the MacBook Airs, there are more color options available than what there had been in any previous years for the Airs. I think the midnight color option was a very welcome addition when they first announced it, because people have wanted a matte black MacBook since they discontinued the black MacBook, like the plastic one, back in 2008 or something. And although midnight isn't actually black, it's close enough. It is a very, very dark blue. I actually thought that Dad was going to choose midnight, but I'm really glad that he went with Starlight, because shortly after we ordered this, I started seeing reviews come out of the midnight saying that they were just absolute fingerprint magnets. And when I went into the Apple store, I saw that these reviewers were not over exaggerating. Like, they are really fingerprinty. Like, it's really bad. Nah, not into it. It really reminds me of the jet black iPhone 7s, which looked absolutely beautiful until you touched them and then the entire effect was ruined. Like, what's the point in having something that looks incredible until you touch it and then it looks like crap? Like, that's my opinion. You may not agree. You're not gonna get this problem with the other 3 colors in the lineup. In fact, I went to check them all, I looked at them in different lights, and the only real place that you'll notice a fingerprint is that shiny metallic Apple logo on the back. Although I think 4 is a good number of color options to have, I feel like they should have been a bit more adventurous and gone with something a little bit different. Like, I don't personally feel as though we needed to have both Starlight and Silver. I reckon they should have just doubled down on either Starlight or Silver and then done something a bit more unusual, out of the ordinary, fun, like purple. Though purple wouldn't really fit in the general lineup. As much as I'd love to see a purple, it would have to be a sort of like metallic-y purple and it wouldn't really fit. But they could have done like an alpine green. Like, they could have done a bronze. They could have done many things, and they didn't. They went with Silver and Starlight. So, overall thoughts. This new MacBook Air seems like just a really great laptop. Ultra portable, really capable, stylish as hell. But is it right for you? If you are someone who does a lot of graphics intensive work, then you're probably gonna wanna go with the Pro. Because if you start adding the specs up too much on this one in order to get through the work you need to get through, you should probably just go over to the 14-inch MacBook Pro, unless portability is incredibly important to you. You get more power, you get a HDMI cable, you get an SD card slot, you get a third USB-C port, bigger, brighter screen with 120 Hz refresh rates. But if you're somebody who just needs this for general uni work, writing documents, browsing the web, doing some basic video editing, photo editing, selling shit on eBay, this is a really great laptop for you, and there's probably no point in paying the extra and going up to the 14-inch Pro. In fact, for a lot of people, the M1 MacBook Air, which is still available and in Australia, $400 less for the base model, that's probably gonna suit you really, really well. Well, my camera ran out of space when I was about 99% done. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up, click on the face to subscribe to my channel, and let me know, what do you think of the new MacBook Air? Are you gonna get one? Do you wanna get one? If you did, what color would you get? Do you hate it? Do you think it's fantastic? Let me know all your thoughts, feelings, and opinions down in the comment section below, and I'll see you next time. Bye.